For most people, it's easy to gravitate towards designer fragrances. That's what most guys are going to go for. But some guys, a lot of guys these days, want that mid-level designer range for their fragrance, but that low-level price point. And with spring weather in full effect where I'm at, I'm actually wearing shorts too. This is the second day in a row because we're in the mid to high 60s is the highs here in Colorado Springs the last couple of days and the next few days. I felt it was the perfect time to bring you the 15 cheap fragrances that I'll be reaching for this spring that you may want to consider. Stay tuned. Starting with one that was a surprising release that I've kind of been waiting for the spring because I really feel like it's the ideal season for it. You can find this one at Ross, Marshalls. It pops up all over the place for around $25. You can get Mont Blanc STARWALKER Extreme. A little fresh, a little green, a little sweet, a little powdery. It's got a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of a dark woody edge, but I wouldn't call it some dark cold weather fragrance. It doesn't smell extremely similar to STARWALKER. I know that's interesting considering the name STARWALKER Extreme. You get a little hit of it, but it's definitely a much more dense, lightly sweet fragrance, but still light enough and fresh enough to where I think it'll do really well in the cooler to warmer weather. Not cold weather, not hot weather. The temperatures that kind of fall somewhere in between, which is most of spring for most people. I'm going to spray that again because it does smell really good. And you can get it really, really cheap. Like I said, there's a lot of fruitiness here. There's some warmer woods in the base, I find, but it still has some of that bright green, fresh, spicy edge that the original had, even though the notes will tell you one thing. How it smells kind of falls a little bit differently from the actual note breakdown. It's one, like I said, that intrigued me from the start. It was a surprise release out of nowhere, straight to discounters pretty much. And it's one that's very affordable, a little bit different, and not quite the same as everything else, but not some mold-breaking, challenging fragrance at the same time. You can get for a really good price, and I think spring is going to be ideal. So you will be seeing me reach for this one this spring. It's Mont Blanc STARWALKER Extreme. Speaking of fragrances that fall somewhere in between something, YEDT and YEDP, two of my personal favorite fragrances. I love the line as a whole. It's one of my favorite designer fragrance lines. And the EDP, while built very well for the spring, and the EDT built very, very well for the summer, there's actually a fragrance that kind of falls somewhere in between with the freshness, the density, and the sweetness, and the performance. That being Lacoste L1212 Blanc, the EDP, Lacoste White EDP. So this has a finger lime note, has a very bright lime smelling freshness, has a little bit of that aquatic, salty ambergris and sage feel that Y is known for. It kind of smells a little bit like Coach Blue up top, and it starts to dry down into YSL-Y. And I mean YSL-Y, kind of a little hit of maybe not quite as fresh as the EDT, but not as sweet as the EDP. But it definitely smells like it belongs somewhere in that family once you get past the opening into the heart and early dry down of this fragrance. Performance is average to slightly above. It's, a solid 6 to, maybe 7 hours on my skin. Some people have told me they get 8 to 9 hours. I get more in that 6 to 7 hour range most of the time. This is, I got to spray it again. It smells great. On the slightly more synthetic side, sure, but you can get this bottle for around $40. Kingdom Fragrances, I believe, has it for $40 right now in stock, which there's always a link down in the link tree in my video descriptions. That's where this bottle came from. And it doesn't remind me so much of Lacoste White, the EDT, because that one's more about grapefruit, soft leather, and white florals, whereas you may get a little hint, a little homage to the original's DNA. It definitely smells more like Coach Blue meets YSL-Y. To me personally, and I think it's a great affordable fragrance for the spring because it has a little bit of that green freshness with a little bit of citrus and aquatic touch at the same time. I think this will do well in the summer as well, but I believe the ideal scenario and season overall is going to be spring, so I'll definitely be reaching for this one this spring. This Lacoste White EDP. Anytime there's a lot of green facets to a fragrance, it just reminds me of spring, flowers are blooming, grass is growing, trees are filling out once again. I think that's why greens put me in the mood for spring. And one of the better minty green fragrances is actually called Frosted Violet Leaf, is what the official note breakdown says for Boss Bottled Unlimited. So it's a little minty violet leaf with some pineapple and some wood. It's not a real complex fragrance. It's not super original and special. But damn it, it smells good. It smells really good. This is a great fragrance that not a lot of people talk about. You can get 100 mLs around 30 bucks, pretty much all across the internet. 200 mLs like this around 40 and some change. This 200 ml again came from Kingdom Fragrances. Stuff's just good, guys. When I say pineapple, don't think Aventus. Nothing like Aventus. It definitely has some minty green freshness up top. A little bit of an aquatic touch because of the violet leaf here. It's not more of a violet smell where it's got that radiance, petroleum type of smell. It's not that at all. It's got that more aquatic feel that violet leaf can have sometimes, with the juicy fruit of a little bit of a pineapple note and a nice mild woody base background. It's pleasant. Like I said, not complex, not some special fragrance, but it just smells really, really good. It has a sporty, casual feel without being quite a sporty fragrance at the same time. And when I mean sporty, I mean great for outdoor events. Kind of has that vibe of going to the gym and stuff like that, which I think you can use this for that. No worries in that department, but I find it's more of a casual / work type of fragrance for a spring season. This stuff's just, it's solid. It's not a 10 out of 10 fragrance, but it's definitely well above average in my opinion, and more people need to give it a shot. I'll definitely be pulling it out in the rotation this year. Boss Bottled Unlimited. Back-to-back violet leaf fragrances, whereas here, the violet leaf does have a little bit of that petroleum type of smell, kind of an ode to Fahrenheit, if you will. Friends of mine in the community have told me it's kind of almost a dead ringer for Aqua Fahrenheit. They get the Aqua Fahrenheit vibes. I haven't smelled Aqua Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit Le Parfum, of course, but not Aqua Fahrenheit, but JOOP Wow Fresh is supposedly a great affordable replacement for that very difficult to get discontinued version of Fahrenheit. So the geranium here gives off a little bit of a fresh spicy quality instead of an earthy minty tone like most geraniums tend to do on my skin. It's got that zesty bergamot freshness up top with the violet leaf, and then it dries into this slightly darker sweet vanilla, but it's not a very sweet fragrance. It's a bourbon vanilla note, and it's not a lot of sweetness. It's just a little bit of vanilla. It's more so this aquatic, fresh, spicy, lightly sweet fragrance, if I was to sit here and describe it based on accords. It's got a little bit of an aquatic touch here because of the violet leaf, but more so has that radiance and a little bit of a warm spice feel to it. More so fresh spice than warm spice, but it does have a little bit of a warmth on the skin. And like I said, it's got a radiance in the opening. That's due to that violet leaf. It gives us this warm, radiant feeling without being a hot type of feeling. I don't know if I'm describing that the best, but that's how it comes across to me. That's how it seems to make most sense in my head at the moment to describe it. You can get 40 mLs like this at Burlington for $15. Not a great performer, like a 4-hour fragrance at best. Maybe 5 hours if you spray your clothes. I'm going to spray it again because it smells great. Doesn't smell synthetic. Doesn't smell like everything else. If anything, it smells like a discontinued, hard-to-find flanker of Fahrenheit. So that may give you the motivation you need to give it a try. If you see this one out at the rack store, it's 15 bucks. Roll the dice. I think it's worthy. Great for the spring, in my opinion. JOOP Wow Fresh. An all-time classic and personal favorite of mine. This and Aqua de Jo scream 90s to me, but this more so than Aqua de Jo, that being Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. Yes, it has some citrus and some freshness, but it's really got a lot of green herbal components here. There's a cactus note that adds almost like a bitter, juicy fruit, fresh, spicy edge to it. It's very green, and it's very aromatic. I love this stuff. I have multiple bottles. I've had several bottles over the years. I always go back to this one. It's not winning any performance awards, but it's not the most synthetic smell. It is an original scent profile to me. I don't know if supposedly Fougères Marine from Montal is kind of a niche take on this. I've never tried it personally. I really need to get my nose on that one. but I just love the original. That's why I usually get these little bottles, 30 mLs and 50 mLs. It's easy to keep with me so I can refresh. You can spray it on the heavier side. It has a little bit going on for it outside of just being a casual vibe. It's got enough of an elegant appeal to dress up pretty well at the same time. On a budget, this is one of the better fragrances ever made, in my personal opinion. I don't know how many of you out there have smelled it and feel that way, but if you've yet to try it for one reason or another, maybe this spring is the right time, because it's so green, a little bitter citrus type of fresh spicy edge to it. I feel like it works good in the summer, it works good in the fall, but it works great in the spring. Give this one a try this year if you've yet to, or if you have it, time to dust off your bottle. Tommy by Tommy Hilfiger. So you got to have something that's going to dress up a little bit in the spring as well. It's not going to be too heavy, but you definitely want that more masculine, refined appeal. And this is actually a pretty new release that you can get for $40 or less pretty much all over the internet, that being the new DRAKKAR Intense. I really, really dig this stuff. I do. I was never the biggest fan of DRAKKAR Noir. I know this is a reimagined version of the original. I understand that. I've just never smelled that. So I compare it to DRAKKAR Noir most closely. And I do smell a little bit of DRAKKAR Noir in it for that barbershop herbal feel. But here it's got a little hit of booziness in the top. There's a little touch of sweetness in the background to go with that lovely aromatic spice that you come to expect from a more barbershop themed fragrance. This stuff's really good. Average to slightly above average performance. It does well. I paid 40 bucks for a tester bottle. It's with the cap, came in a white tester box. You can find 50 mLs for 30, 35 bucks. Really the $35 to $45 range you can expect to pay for a 100 ml of this from different sellers on eBay is the main place I've seen it. That's where I got my bottle, and I think it's great for spring. I don't think it's the best choice. I feel like it's going to wear a little too heavy and be a little too sweet for the summer. I think spring is the ideal season before you have to put it on the shelf and save it for fall. So those situations where you're wearing an Oxford, you're wearing a sports jacket, blazer, or suit and tie even, this will be a great choice in the spring, where it has a little bit more density to it, a little bit more character and more spice, but not so much that it's overwhelming. So this is a really good choice in my opinion for the spring. I'll definitely be pulling this one out a lot more. Get your nose on this one. DRAKKAR Intense. Basically, cypress and tonka bean are the most dominating notes here for me. This one's relatively new to my collection, and I'm really digging it. I like the Only the Brave line as a whole. I have yet to try a diesel Only the Brave fragrance that I don't like, and Spirit of the Brave falls right into that. It's got a lovely cypress note that gives a little bit of a minty green freshness, and there's a nice smooth, sweet, lightly powdery tonka bean vanilla feel here. It's not too sweet, but it's also not too fresh and green at the same time. It's an interesting combination, fresh and green with powdery sweet. You wouldn't think would go that well together, but here it just does. It's got a little bit of a cooling effect here. The cypress does come off a little minty to me. It really does, but the cypress dominates. It's a strong green feel and a strong tonka bean feel at the same time, which leads to this fresh, bright, almost herbal type of feel, but not a dark herbal feel, with this slightly powdery sweetness that adds a smooth, cooling, creamy nature. It's a solid performer. It's not a beast, but it's definitely not a really weak fragrance, and it's one that not everybody talks about, not everybody's tried. You know, some of these diesel fragrances can kind of get lost in the shuffle. I found this in a little gift set with a shower gel for $20, $25, somewhere around there at Ross Dress for Less. So stuff like this does pop up at the rack stores. They are very affordable from discounters online as well. This is one that you may not have thought of for this spring, so I'm glad to feature it, and maybe more of you will give it a shot, and you might end up finding something you really enjoy adding to your collection this spring. Diesel Spirit of the Brave. At this stage, it's an oldie but a goodie, because its flankers get all the love. I'm guilty of that too, but for me, the original is still great. It still holds merit. It is the original Wanted. I haven't spent much time with this one in a long time. I want to go back to this one this spring because it has a little bit of that Invictus opening, but it dries down nice and spicy. Warm and spicy, but not so warm that it's too much for the warmer days of spring. I think this is great for spring and fall ideally. I think it works just as well in the fall as it does for spring, but the other options are better in the winter. That's why I haven't really been wearing it. The Most Wanted and Wanted by Night are just so much better in the cold, which this is no slouch. Since I have the others, they suit that season and that weather better. Whereas spring, you know, slightly warmer days, lightly cool evenings, this will really work. People tend to forget about this one because the flankers are so good, and you can get it cheap. 50 ml like this around 30 bucks, 35 bucks, and they perform. It's not the beast of Wanted by Night and the most wanted, but it's still an above average performer. This is a 6 to 8 hour fragrance on my skin, and it does project very heavy for the first 2 to 3 hours. This stuff will still grab attention. It's still a great fragrance after the years it's been out. Now, like I said, it gets pushed to the side because it spawned so many amazing flankers. But for the spring, I think this is better than the other flankers in the line, and I'm definitely going to be going back to this one. If you have a bottle, you probably have forgotten about how good it is too. Time to pull it out this spring, in my opinion. I definitely will be. AZZARO Wanted. So this one's a little bit newer to the collection, not brand new to the collection. I have done a full review on this one not that long ago, and it really is one of the best fragrances you can get for around $20. Hands down, end of story, with JOOP Homme Ice. Stuff's really good. I paid $20.83 before taxes from fragrancebuy.ca. It's awesome. It's an odd size too, 80 ml, a 2.7 ounce. It's got some freshness, but it's also got some fruity sweetness as well. This kind of plum note going for it, but it's not too sweet. Now in the summer, I bet it would be too sweet. I haven't had it in the summer yet to even test it to begin with for the hottest of weather, but I feel like spring's kind of the tail end of ideal situations and temperatures to wear this fragrance. It can go casual, it can dress up a little bit. It's got a lot of character for being a $20 fragrance. It performs really well, definitely performs above average without being a crazy beast. It's not overwhelming. If you heavy spray this one, it can be overwhelming, I'm sure. But this one, moderate sprays, 5 to 7 sprays. You should have more than enough projection, depending on your skin chemistry, of course, to really reach out to where people can smell you and have the possibility of telling you if you smell nice or not, if that type of stuff's that important to you, because for some, that's what they wear fragrances for, more so than themselves. Always wear a fragrance for yourself. And for me personally, stuff smells great. It really does. I still can't believe you can get this for 20 bucks because it does not smell like a $20 fragrance. Nothing about this, to me, says $20 fragrance, but spring, like I said before, is the tail end of what I would consider ideal for it because it is a bit on the heavier, dense, sweet side, but not so dense and sweet that it doesn't work on warmer spring days. Just avoid the hot summer, in my opinion. I'll definitely be pulling this one out. This is going to be the final season before it gets shelved for me. JOOP Homme Ice. Moving back to green stuff. It's mostly green stuff in this video, and one that I save exclusively for spring. Okay, this is one of the better cheap spring fragrances ever. Is Banana Republic number 78 Vintage Green. I did pick this one up early last year. Oh man, this is so good. And last night when I was putting these bottles to the side for this video, I was already wearing a fragrance out the shower and I just doused myself in this on top of it because it just smells so good. Natural herbal green freshness. It does not smell synthetic. You can get this for $20 at rack stores. These Banana Republic Icon line fragrances pop up for around $20, and I've yet to smell one that I would consider not worth buying for $20. It really is one of the better cheapy lines out there. The Icon line from Banana Republic. This stuff has this gorgeous petitgrain, bright green freshness, slightly soapy nature to it. Has a bit of a Mugler cologne vibe without the neroli. Like it has the greens, the bergamot petitgrain type of smell. That mild green freshness where it's not really spicy, but it definitely has that, you know, fresh cut grass type of smell. Stuff's really good. Not a beast in performance. If you want something that's going to last all day, you're probably going to have to keep it with you and refresh throughout the day. It's like a 3-4 hour fragrance on my skin, so nothing special in longevity, but damn it, it smells great. This is one of the best smelling ones in the line and definitely the best suited for spring in my opinion, especially on those warmer spring days. You definitely cannot go wrong with Vintage Green number 78 from Banana Republic. One of the fragrances I featured recently in the 5 best blue fragrances for the spring because this is a blue fragrance at its core regardless of the color of the bottle, but there's so much minty green freshness going on here that it's ideal. It's the best, one of the best aquatics for the spring in my opinion is AZZARO Chrome Aqua. This stuff's great. You can get 100 mLs for around 40 bucks and it's absolutely worth it. Citrus, mint, herbal, a little fresh spicy, and still very aquatic at its core. I have people ask me all the time, between this and Chrome Extreme, I wouldn't pick one or the other. I think they both serve different purposes. While they can both be worn casually in warm weather, no problem, I still think if you really break them down at what they're best suited for, I think this is best suited for spring with a little bit of summer, whereas Chrome Extreme is best suited for summer with a little bit of spring and a little bit of fall. I feel like that one's even more versatile because it's so powerful, but still so blue by the beach aquatic. Here, a lot more green freshness, picnic on the grass type of feel, where it's bright, it's fresh, it's laid back, but super enjoyable. Above average performer, not the beast that Chrome Extreme is. This is one that's going to give you in that 6 to 8 hour range based on my experience, more so the 6 hour range. I would spray my clothes with this one, give it another 2 or 3 sprays just in case. It's a very light fragrance as far as staining your clothes, so I think you'll be okay. And it's one that you can get the most out of for 40 bucks. It's very hard to beat. It doesn't smell as synthetic as Chrome Extreme does for just $10 more. Yes, that's a more powerful fragrance if it's super important to you, but if you're looking for the ideal chrome flanker for the spring, at least based off the ones I've tried, I think Chrome Aqua is that chrome flanker. Like I said, it's still aquatic at its core. For those of you that like those fresh light blue type of feeling fragrances that put you by the beach in your mindset because they have that aquatic feel, here, still that minty green freshness really makes me think of picnics on the grass in the park in the spring. It just puts me there. That's why I think it's one of the better chrome fragrances for spring. It's Chrome Aqua. Possibly my favorite spring fragrance. It's in the cheapy video every year. You can still find them online from discounters for a really good price. This is my second bottle I've ever had. It's a blue bottle with a green scent profile. John VARVATOS Artisan Blue. Don't let this fool you. It is not a blue fragrance. It is very green. It is petitgrain. It is, I believe, tarragon. There's some fir balsam. There's all kinds of green notes. And quality. Quality green smell. Does not smell synthetic. This stuff is so, so good. Weak performer. If you're looking for a 6+ hour fragrance, you're looking at the wrong fragrance. This is 3 to 4 hours. Nothing special in performance, but damn, you can bathe in this stuff and it smells absolutely incredible. No fragrance speaks to me more about spring than maybe this one does, because it's such a high quality smelling green fragrance, and I mean green through and through. Yet, it does not cost a lot of money. $40 or less you can usually find this 4.2 ounce. 25, 30 bucks you can usually find a 75 ml. Like I said, if performance is that damn important to you, you're probably going to pass on it because it's definitely not winning any awards in performance. But if scent is number one to you, the quality and the profile are awesome. And it'll fool you. This is not a blue fragrance. This should be Artisan Green, but it screams spring. Get your nose on this one if you haven't yet. John VARVATOS Artisan Blue. The other cheap fragrance, most synonymous with spring to me personally, I actually wore it out the shower the other night. It's just such a good smell. This is another one dominated by a fir balsam note. Guess Man, the original. At this stage, I have a lot of the Guess Man flankers, but the original is still my favorite. I strictly wear this in the spring because it just smells like spring. It's fresh and green. Like I said throughout the video, fresh and green always screams spring. Here, it smells very synthetic. It doesn't perform very well, but it's just something about it for me. You can douse yourself in this one, 10, 12, 15 sprays, whatever the hell you want. It's not going to offend anybody. It's just a really, really enjoyable scent profile. This stuff you can get for around 15 bucks. In a pinch, it'll work in every situation in the spring for you, from wearing a damn tank top out at the park all the way to dressing up with a suit and tie if you really need it to. Not the ideal choice for that, but it's a versatile spring fragrance for 15 bucks. It does smell really, really good. More people should give this one a try. Like I said, for me, besides Artisan Blue from John VARVATOS, this is the other cheap fragrance most synonymous with spring to me because it's just so green. This is Guess Man. Speaking of green, fresh cut grass, gorgeous grapefruit, juicy citrus up top, nice light woods. That sounds like Carolina Herrera 212 Men to me. You can find 50 mLs like this for around 40 bucks. They do perform okay, not the beast that people used to consider them. Smells good though. It's an attractive scent. This was many guys' signature scent for years and years and years. And for some guys, it's still their signature scent. You know, it's not the same fragrance it was 15 years ago. I mean, come on, let's be honest. When a fragrance is around that long, restrictions change and sometimes oils have to be substituted and it'll slightly change the fragrance. They call it a reformulation. This has had a few of them, I'm sure, but it still smells really damn good and it's still a fresh green fragrance at its core. Ideal for spring. Slightly dressy for spring. Can definitely be a very casual fragrance, but at the same time you can dress this one up. This one goes great with an Oxford in the springtime. Great work fragrance. That's like I said, a lot of guys use this as their signature scent over the years, and for good reason. It's very versatile. It has a playful side and a serious side at the same time. It kind of falls somewhere in the middle to where it can do just about everything. This is signature scent worthy stuff for the spring, really and truly, and you're not going to break the bank. It performs okay without being too weak. If it's been a while, maybe it's time to revisit. If you've never tried it, give it a try for the spring. Carolina Herrera, 212 Men. Last but not least, I just wore this 2 days ago, as a matter of fact. The fragrance most synonymous with my channel. I deem the spring and fall to be the two best seasons for this because it's not the most fresh and aquatic of blue fragrances. It's got a little bit more density and earthiness and powdery nature to it. That being AQUA ESSENZIALE Blue from Salvatore Ferragamo. Just wore this a few days ago. I love this stuff. It is no secret. It's my favorite blue fragrance. One of my favorite fragrances, period, regardless of price, season, situation, whatever. One of my lifers. Always have to have this stuff. It's really good. I love it. I love it. It's my most recommended fragrance for a reason. It could damn near be the only one for me in the event that I only had one fragrance because I enjoy it that much. It is that versatile. Can you wear it in the summer? Sure. Ideal for that? No, absolutely not. I deem it ideal for spring and fall, like I just said. Works well in the winter as well. It performs really well. It's got a density, a sweetness, and a powdery nature. That's why I think it's just too cloying for the highest of heat. But warm days, it works great. Leaving the gym, heading to work, that's where the beginning of the dent in this bottle started for weeks on end. This was borderline signature scent at one point for several weeks straight, where it was what I was wearing every single day because I just couldn't get enough of it, and it was just one of those spray it and forget it and move on with your day type of fragrances. When you can do that with a fragrance, it's signature scent worthy. You don't need to be reminded it's there. Other people around you will randomly remind you it's there by asking what you're wearing or telling you that you smell good. That has been my experience with AQUA ESSENZIALE Blue. You can find them for a good price. I did happen to look on FragranceNet the other night with the 35% off coupon code. Testers are right around 29 bucks, right around 40 bucks for a 100 ml. Worth it. You can find 50 mls like this for around 17 at the rack stores when you can get lucky. But all those price points, it's worthy in my opinion. This spring, I'll definitely be keeping this in rotation. Hell, I wore it 2 days ago. AQUA ESSENZIALE Blue, Salvatore Ferragamo. Well, that's the 15 cheap fragrances I plan on reaching for the most this particular spring season of 2022. Until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate all the feedback. I love hearing from you guys. What of this list do you have and do you plan on wearing? Or what did you see in this video that kind of struck a chord with you and you're like, you know what? That's a great idea. I think I'm going to try that one out this spring. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of these 15, give them a spray now. You might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.